I want to give a special thank you to everyone tuning in to this webinar replay. Um, and I want to say that this is my third webinar that explains sound healing and how I help my community. So, um, when working with trauma, one of the things that's most significant for women, especially, is having a community to develop and grow with. Um, and I must admit, in this industry, it is not accepted because of the mysticism and the misconceptions that are tied into what I do, what I call sound alchemy. So, in this webinar replay, I am aiming to provide a light and allow people to understand, so illuminate your perception, allow people to understand what it is I do and how it relates to trauma. Once we understand, right, we now can make informed decisions. So that is my ultimate goal today. Um, so I have a presentation that goes along with this, and I will get that pulled up here in a second. So as I present, I will turn my camera off just because I I just always feel weird people just staring at you while you're talking. When you're supposed to be focused on something totally different. So bear with me here while I get our presentation set up and my screen functional. Okay. All right. So, as I mentioned, I want to give a special thank you to everyone that's joining us. This is my third time doing this webinar that explains sound healing and how I help my community. So, we'll get started. So, who we are. My name is Miranda Houston. I also go by Coach Mandy. I am a holistic trauma recovery specialist, sound alchemist, and certified life coach. The actual term for what I do is CCTS, Certified Clinical Trauma Specialist, and a Certified Life Coach. That does mean that I can work alongside facilities that specialize with trauma or have a specialty in trauma. So I have chosen to pursue my own endeavors, which is why I have really highlighted Holism Haus. So I also am a college student. I am working towards my master's in business administration, and I'm on the dean's list. So just a little whoop whoop because it's hard work. It's definitely hard work, and I feel like I am just doing it. Okay, so I'm also a student support specialist for Waverly. I've been doing that for about 3 years now. I am the mother of Jadis, Arme, Amaya, and Camilla. So yes, I do have 4 children, and I've been a mother for 12 years now. So, did you know that we weren't always Holism Haus? We first started off as Houston Legacy of Enlightenment, and we were providing life skill workshops and trainings for youth through local small businesses and partnerships. Um, there were some things that, of course, like every new business owner encounters, you have to realize where to pivot. And I definitely had to do that because a lot of what I wanted to do, as far as the life skill workshops and training for youth, entailed for them to have that hands-on experience and all of that so that they can create a career portfolio and demand just a little bit more entering into the workforce through experience, right? So I definitely had to tailor that and really understand my own capacity. So, in our expansion from Houston Legacy of Enlightenment, which is now our holding company for our other entities, Ineffable Herbs, Our Kids Michigan chapter, Holism Haus, and Legacy Wear exclusive clothing. So, ineffable herbs, when you walk into our wellness center, it's really what you see is ineffable herbs. So, we offer self care herbs and remedies for your optimum self. So, we offer like loose leaf dried herbs if you're into herbalism, not really into like taking medication, uh, as well as like, our herbal bath bar. And then we have bath and body care items. So, like salts and soaps and sponges and loofahs, actual plant loofahs, everything designed to be holistic, natural, and healthy for you inside and out. Mindfulness, morals, and management that encompasses our Kids Michigan chapter. And the point of that is to have our youth who have been known to have behavior impairments have our youth in a regulated state, give them a platform and allow them to lead. It was essentially what we called legacy kids as we were operating as Houston Legacy of Enlightenment, but it is now considered Our Kids Michigan chapter. We also have Legacy Wear exclusive clothing, which is our urban clothing and merchandise with a purpose, where 15% of proceeds go towards youth participating in the Our Kids program. So when you purchase Legacy Wear, whether that's items or merchandise or clothing, you could be making a difference by knowing that 15% of those proceeds help the kids in the Our Kids Michigan chapter program with transitional expenses. So at the bulk of what I do, knowing how trauma is impacted, and we'll get into that a little later, we want to help you in ways that you may need help. So whether that's driver's license, rental applications, you need help obtaining your first car. So there's different things that we can assist with when it comes up to the Our Kids Michigan chapter program. And of course, Holism Haus, what I present mostly overall through everything that I do, is making holistic trauma recovery accessible. So there's a lot of things that we'll cover in this webinar today that really allows you to understand our mission and why we do what we do. So I am definitely a firm believer in regulating your body first. So anytime anybody starts with going into topics that could be sensitive, you want to make sure that people are in a regulated state. What that means is they will not be aroused easily. So they won't start crying, or they won't, get irrational. And so what I believe is that breathing will help you regulate your body. And we all know, like, breathing is essential to releasing stress and getting your body regulated. So we don't realize that not breathing or the way we're breathing can keep us in fight or flight. So these are the things that I want you to do in your own time and just kind of practice this. Because this is a webinar replay, I won't take the 5 minutes out to do this, but step one is you want to make sure you get comfortable. You want your feet flat, laid back, arms on your lap, or you can put them on your stomach, your hands over your stomach. And I suggest that for beginners, because if you have your hands on your stomach, it allows for you to feel your stomach rise and fall. You do not want to breathe through your chest for this breathing exercise. You really want to feel your stomach rising and falling. And if you're breathing and you notice that your shoulders are raising up and falling down, you are totally taking this natural breathing pattern and turning this into something that is not natural. All right, so please get comfortable, feet flat, laid back, arms on your lap or your stomach. Close your eyes during this, because if you have your eyes open, a lot of times we tend to focus on what we see. And if you close your eyes, that allows you to just be. I want you to begin breathing without pausing, in through your nose, out through your mouth. I want you to number four, forget about fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Okay. That does not help you when you're trying to regulate your body. You just need to focus on breathing and being in that moment and feeling what your body is telling you. What I like to call bodyfulness. Sorry. Number five means 5 minutes on the timer. It usually starts now if this was not a webinar replay. So, your breathing should sound like this. You want to keep that consistent flow of breath for 5 minutes. I'm already regulated. I like to do my breath work prior to any events or anything that I have to do because I have to stay grounded. As I mentioned before, when there is fear, uncertainty, and doubt around certain topics like I teach, I have to remain grounded because common misconceptions can get me frustrated when I only want to help people heal, right? All right. So now that you have regulated your body, we are going to go ahead and move on. So I pride myself on healing because it's all I've known how to do. People have came and went in my life, and I have to regard how God will shift people in and out of our lives for the yin, the yang, life and death, and all the other ebbs and flows. So um, it is what it is, right? Like it is what it is. I say all that to say that I've had my fair share of trauma, specifically with grief, emotional violence, neglect and abuse, foster care, and so. As a trauma specialist, I have an obligation to ensure that you are in a regulated state so that you can retain the information today. So that was why it was important for you to do the breath work that we did. And that really allows your body, as my favorite YouTuber says, it allows your body to clean house, right? Cleaning your mind from fear, uncertainty, doubt, unhelpful thinking styles. So this session is recorded. And I want to ensure that everyone here understands that I will share this webinar, but if there were participants here today, I would take that snippet out because this is a safe space, and I would only have the things that I've mentioned for promotional purposes only. That is our ethics. So I feel like anytime you are coaching or you are counseling, it is something that is very important to be sensitive to the needs of those you serve. Speaking of counseling, this webinar is not a therapy session. I cannot diagnose or prescribe anything to you. I am happy to answer any questions I can, but I'm not a licensed therapist or counselor. I am a life coach. This webinar is also not your typical trauma bonding webinar. So this is intimate conversations that are okay to have, but for the most part, we have a private Facebook community for that. And this webinar is also not a one-time answers all session. So this is a series and it goes in depth about how trauma impacts our bodies and how we can access healing through sound alchemy. So, as I mentioned earlier, the types of trauma that I have experienced, those categories are what I specialize in healing, mainly due to life experience. Life experience can be our greatest teacher despite the outcomes. And I want you to ponder after the webinar which of those categories may have impacted your quality of life. And once you think about it, I also want you to include some action steps that'll help you regulate. I don't want you to think too much about the events within those categories, just the first one that comes to mind when you think about the categories. If you choose to, I am more than happy to send you information about action steps or how to assist you with those action steps to remain regulated. And again, those categories are violence, grief, emotional, which can include verbal abuse, anxiety, guilt, depression, neglect and abuse as it relates to the foster care system or close relationships like your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, brother, mother, father, sister, cousin. Sexual trauma, such as rape, incest, health altering STDs. And then when I said violence, whether that's domestic or gun violence. Those are things I want you to think about after the webinar, keyword for after the webinar, um, and write down some action steps. So after you gather some information, very helpful information here, I want you to take that information and do with it as you will. Because my ultimate goal is to make sure that holistic healing is accessible. So, we're going to go ahead and start with the basics of trauma. And the goal is to understand trauma thoroughly. So, before we do that, we must understand what it does to our body and how the environments we are in can contribute to that. So, if I give you an example that there's an adult sitting at a bus stop, and if you like visualize on this bus stop, there is things written all over the walls at this bus stop. And in permanent marker, it says, Mark was here, sit here, you'll die. Nobody loves you like I do. M plus U equals forever. And the adult is sitting there staring without blinking. Another adult walks up with their child and they sit beside him, and then he snaps back to reality. He greets the new people at the stop, and then the bus comes. The questions that I want you to think about are, what trauma response did that adult experience? And why do you think he experienced that? The answer is disassociation. And he experienced disassociation because of his environment. Disassociation is a mental process. It severs the connection among a person's thoughts, memories, feelings, actions, and sense of identity. A common scenario that people use when they think about disassociation is you're driving home from work and then suddenly you're home and you're like, how did I get here? Right? So that's a common disassociation that people can relate to. So this happens when we engage in autonomous activities. So autonomous means that it happens frequently, reoccurring, or naturally. Now, when it comes up to um, certain circumstances, right? When we're looking from the outside and we're just using our perception and past experiences to navigate the world that we are in. Naturally, if you see someone staring out into space, we have our own analogies about what we think that person is doing, if that person is all right, is there something wrong with that person? All of these thoughts that we have that we try to answer without having the full understanding or the full picture. right? And so even though disassociation was the um, trauma response that I used, imagine other trauma responses that people have that we don't understand, and we're quick to judge them, right? My favorite line is, I am not God, I am not here to judge. And so when we dive deeper into the scenario, what if I had added that the adult lost his brother at that very bus stop 8 years ago? How could the words that were written on the wall make him disassociate? What about the sounds that he's hearing? And I wanted to give you that example of a physical experience, one that we could visualize. And it really puts it into perspective of how our environments can alter our state of mind. There's always much more happening on a molecular level. Our bodies produce noradrenaline, adrenaline, metabolism, and cortisol. These are produced in or from the adrenal gland. That adrenal gland sits right on top of your kidney. They are natural neurotransmitters and hormones that our bodies produce. In my experience, I've heard the term epinephrine and norepinephrine more frequently used in the hospital, as they can increase or maintain our blood pressure. So if you think about the example that I gave you earlier about the man at the bus stop, his environment and having a full understanding of what is happening in the environment is what made his body produce neurons and hormones, norepinephrine and epinephrine, to disassociate. Cortisol is another hormone that can be used to release while experiencing a stressor or traumatic event. Cortisol is made from the cortex of the adrenal gland, and it redistributes glucose energy in the body. This hormone is a type of steroid hormone, and steroid hormones inactivate your genes and they suppress your immune system. So, cortisol is your main stress hormone. Now, I want y'all to take a step back for a minute and consider how many, especially in the Black community, how many people have high blood pressure? If you have too little cortisol, not enough cortisol in your body, it can change your skin by darkening scars and skin folds. You could be tired all the time. You can have diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, weight loss, loss of appetite, and low blood pressure. If you have too much, you can have rapid weight gain, skin that bruises easily, diabetes, and other health problems like Cushing syndrome. Cushing syndrome is something that I had. I didn't realize it. Cushing is essentially your body producing an extra layer of fat cushion as a result of stress. You experience weight gain around your stomach, your midsection. You get fatty deposits around your upper back, your face, and you lose fat from your arms and your legs. And so you carry all of that stress on the essential towards the essential vital functions of your body, right there in the middle. So when you're dealing with too much stress, people experience anxiety and depression. That's very common. Headaches, heart disease, memory and concentration problems, problems with digestion, trouble sleeping, and weight gain or loss. But oxytocin, which is It's also produced in the cortex with cortisol. Oxytocin produces another response. It's mostly produced in women. It's a hormone that is integrated with estrogen, and scientists have called this trauma response the tend and befriend. Right? It's where women come together and take care of the young ones during stressful times and befriend those people that they're around. Right? Something traumatic happens, next thing you know, you're tending to the kids more and you're befriending the people that are around and supporting you. Some say there's nothing wrong with that, others say there is. And of course, that's up to you and your own discretion on how much is good. But be prepared to understand that trauma bonding is a thing. Bonding together, creating friendships with one another based upon a traumatic event is trauma bonding. And I see it so often. We are quick, especially the women, are quick to, say, oh gosh, this is going on in the community, and now we got to get together. We weren't getting together before. We have to activate our tend and befriend before the traumatic event. We have to learn to trust each other before the trauma happens. That creates a healthy support system. So I want you all to know that cortisol, noradrenaline, adrenaline, and oxytocin are our body's responses to our environment. I hope you're doing well with these concepts so far. So I want to kind of pivot a little bit, right? So now that we know that the state of your body, right, the chemicals that your body's producing influences behaviors, emotions, and thinking, right? Think of the man who disassociated. So, what does that mean if your body is used to producing these hormones in abundance daily or stuck in a cycle of overproducing? Your range of tolerance varies between everyone. So, I'm going to give you an example. You wake up still kind of tired, you're not ready to get up and go to work. You stub your toe on your way to the bathroom, your hair is not laying right, and now your car won't start. So you're late for work. You get there and someone makes a joke that could be misinterpreted. How likely do you think you are to go off? And if you said highly likely, you are highly right. With each experience, your body is producing hormones to respond to what is stressing you out. Eventually, your body has overproduced these hormones, and without proper regulation to calm yourself down or a fast metabolism, which is your body's ability to process these hormones, you can experience fight or flight or tend to befriend. So, going back to metabolism, right? Your body's ability to process these hormones. So, depending on the amount of traumatic events you've experienced in your life, the average process time for someone with minimal events is 6 hours. Someone who has had multiple experiences, multiple traumatic experiences, can take up to 4 days. And new studies suggest that now people who live in toxic stress can take up to 7 days to regulate. And I want you to think about that for a moment. Think about what that epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, oxytocin, what is it doing to your body? In fight or flight situations, your autonomic responses include increased heart rate, increased respiratory rate, shutting off functions like ovulation, immune support, and digestion in a process called vasoconstriction. So your body is getting more oxygen and blood into your tissues and constricting the blood vessels to reduce the flow to your arms and legs. And it's also expelling carbon monoxide. Imagine living like that for 6 hours, 4 days, 7 days. Think about it. This is why they say stress kills. It's not enough to lay your problems on someone else. We have to start really deep diving and handling the issues that are being thrown at us. We can't do that when we are dysregulated and we can't think and we can't function at a regulated state. Can you imagine going into work in that type of um, body response? How long would it take for you to get stressed out and quit? Some people don't even like the jobs that they do. They go because of the money. I won't get too much into that, but I'm a firm believer of the money won't make me, honey. I'm a firm believer of it because my stress level, my ability to connect with my children after work, all of the things is far more important to me than money could ever be. And if we look at this hierarchy of needs here, just a little closer, where it says shelter, right? Actually, it doesn't even say shelter on this one. So when you think about food, water, sex, sleep, breathing, homeostasis, excretion, these are physiological needs, right? These are, we'll get into this later, but these are things that we need to survive. I am a firm believer of if I don't have a place to stay, the elements will become my home. Because we were in the elements before someone told us we needed a roof over our heads to protect ourselves from elements. That survival skill, these survival skills that we had are studied, kind of dying out, for lack of better words, because we are getting more and more comfortable with what society provides us and tells us is okay. We were meant to survive. And through our experiences, we have created new ways to survive. So that's the basics of trauma. So I really hope that that allowed you to see the full view. And sometimes the behaviors we see as bad are truly a chemical imbalance. So speaking about, students, our students cannot control their environments. It's a lot of things that kids in general cannot control. And so their only response is for their body to try and make it okay. And so where one is too tired to continue or they have no coping skills to regulate and connect with the rational mind, they don't. Keep that in mind. These kids are not bad. They are misrepresented. They are dysregulated. And if we continue to run away from the things that we know are true, and we are not taking the time to educate our children on the things such as this that really matters and allows them to understand how their body is responding to certain things, they won't take the time to reconsider it later. And we start to make excuses like, that's just who I am. That's how I was raised. And true, trauma can be passed down through your DNA, but I want you to take another look. All right. So we're going to move into empowerment through sound. So what I do here at Holism Haus, as far as why I call myself a sound alchemist, and some of the sound alchemy facts, right? So the definition of alchemy is transforming matter, more specifically, transforming base metals into gold. That is what alchemy means. I call myself a sound alchemist because of the law of conservation, the law of vibration, and because of what sound does to our body, right? And I'm able, through my practice, to transmute energy. I like to say that emotions are energy in motion, emotion. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. Our spirit does not feel. Let me say it again. Our spirit does not feel. So, sound alchemy is using sound waves that are also referred to as frequencies. That is how you measure sound. And it penetrates you at a vibrational level. So, how many people have heard that vibrations make up the entire universe? The law of conservation was created by Antoine Lavoisier in 1789. The law of conservation states that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transformed. Nikola Tesla, Nikola Tesla, sorry, is who made the law of vibration. Well, I shouldn't say he made it because actually the Pythagoreans in the 5th century BC created that theory in music and in acoustics. Nikola Tesla really started relating it to psychotherapy and things in the mind. Even Albert Einstein, who backed it up and says that everything is vibration, which is true. So the law of vibration states that everything in the universe is in a constant state of movement. And we refer to these movements as vibrations. The speed or rate at which something vibrates is called the frequency. And the only difference between one object and another is the rate of its vibration. Normally, I would give you an example with my sound bowls, right? So the smaller sound bowls, they produce a higher pitch sound. The larger sound bowls produce a lower pitch sound. Therefore, the rate of the vibration for each sound bowl is different. So when you're getting a sound bath, it's vibrating at. And when you experience these sound waves passing through you to shift the frequency of an object, which is you experience a transmutation of energy. Now, that is the base of what sound alchemy is. We use different tools to achieve that. And also, the law of attraction is utilized, more in our guided breathing and meditation sessions. And we'll get into that later for our guided breathing and meditation. But at the base, the law of attraction states that thoughts are energy. And it is. When you think, those neurons are making connections, little tiny, cute little spark of electricity. Cute, right? But factual. So I've created a frequency list. And if you're interested in it, I will definitely send it over to you. The frequencies have been measured and studied to understand how our bodies and our emotions respond to certain frequencies. So, those laws, conservation and vibration and attraction, are all like base for human existence, right? Maybe not attraction, but vibration and conservation. So, just hypothetically speaking, Adam was created from dirt. The dirt was first molded. And so, whether that dirt was molded through the vibration when God spoke, or whether that was the vibration from the earth shaking, it had to be formed. He had to be formed. And it wasn't until God breathed his air into Adam that he was made into a being. And so we're talking about the basic elements of life: vibration and breath. So, in terms of our sound healing tools, there are plenty of instruments that you can use. And I'll only focus on what Holism Haus offers currently. So, our chord singing bowls, they are crafted at 528 hertz, which is Earth's energy. This helps you to relax, regulate, and what we call come to self. So I have the philosophy that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And because of that, we need to ground, right? We need to stay leveled, regulated, being in a rational state. And these instruments help to harmonize your body. Now, I I'm going to say that there is a belief that sound healing can regulate your chakra systems. And don't turn off the play so that you can hear what I'm saying. Chakra originates from the Buddhism and Hindu cultures. And the thought is that the Buddhism or Hindu community knew and measured energy centers in the body for mind and body connection. That's simply it. Um, they wanted to develop a way to understand in which point of your body is being cleared or is blocked based upon the center, the energy center, right? And so, chakra at a very base level, without all the mysticism, is a measurement of your energy center. And just because I've studied Buddhism, I have come to understand that Buddha was not one who wanted to be praised. Buddha was the one who people looked up to, and oftentimes we see this so often. You're relatable, or people really like what you do, or they feel like you're knowledgeable in something. And so they automatically acclimate and they give you praise. And that praise travels. People speak so highly of you, people start to wonder, who are you? What do you do? How do you do it? And so Buddha always told people to look within and told people that God was within, and also made people aware of how to measure their energy in times where they have felt lack of hope, less of hope, lack of hope, things of that nature. So, Buddhism, is others. But again, knowledge, knowledge is the best thing for us. So, at Holism Haus, we do use chakras, and we use chakras to understand what is blocked. How do we measure what is blocked with this sound that these tuning forks are giving me back? So I'll get into that in a second. The tuning forks. Tuning forks are crafted at different frequencies for different needs. And the difference, if you want the frequency chart, I'll send it to you. But the difference is if the pitch sounds, I don't want to say dysregulated, but distorted. If the pitch is distorted, that tells me that we've ran across something. Is that an experience that you hold on to and the energy needs to be released? Or is that an emotion, an energy in motion? And both energy and motion, as well as the experience, can all have a effect on our own frequency that we give off as humans, as mass, according to the law of vibration, right? And the law of conservation. Ocean drums are what we use to promote visualizations. So before I get into that, I want to go back to the tuning forks for 1 second, because the tuning forks can be both weighted and unweighted. If the tuning forks are weighted, you can place those on the body. If the tuning forks are unweighted, you can use them by your ear. Each one of those frequencies or vibrations impact your body, not only on a molecular level, but on an energetic level. It's important to understand that tuning forks can help you with your emotions, repairing your tissue, pain, and even repairing your DNA. It is very important to not be afraid of frequencies. We are always being targeted by frequencies, from the microwave to the computers to the towers to the cell phone, you name it. And if we are constantly, and I ain't even gonna get started on the radio station, but if we are constantly around these vibrations that aren't conducive to healing, that don't promote our best selves, then think about how much damage is being done. And when does the repair happen? A pill? Okay, that's fine. But back to the ocean drums and promoting visualizations. Oftentimes, when we go to the beach, have you ever been to the beach and you just kind of close your eyes and you think, oh, this is so relaxing? Or you have, some type of thought that comes up in your mind, or these creative juices start to flow. And the ultimate experiences can be had when people don't focus on what's going on around them, right? The ocean drums really help people focus on on being in that moment, excuse me. So visualizing the ocean, you know, it really creates a sense of relaxation for people. White noise is another one, right? So these soothing sounds make it easier for people to maintain visualizations. Visualizations are very different from visions. Visualizations are you imagining things, right? And then this is just you in that moment thinking about, oh, I am in front of this ocean. I'm breathing in front of this ocean. Things like that. It helps you to be in the moment. It helps you to visualize when we can't quiet our minds. So when we're in environments that can take our mind away from those tranquil thoughts, people put on chakra cleansing music or jazz or um, white noise and things like that so that they can calm down. ASMR was like a really good move, a really big move, like what, 2 years ago? And understanding how some of those sounds made people feel calm because they were taken away from the hustle and bustle of everyday thoughts. So, what we've covered so far are the definition of alchemy. What does Coach Mandy call herself? Why does Coach Mandy call herself a sound alchemist? The law of vibration, who made it? Law of conservation, who made it? The tools that Holism Haus uses for healing. And what we'll get into is how does this help people with trauma? And how long does it normally take to holistically recover from trauma? We discussed that. So we know how trauma affects our bodies, behaviors, and thinkings. We know what a sound bath is, right? Hopefully. And we know how the frequency are used in a sound bath. So the last thing on the agenda is how we can heal trauma stored in the body. So meditative practices, sound alchemy, and herbalism is all considered complementary medicine. That means it is to help in the aid of what conventional medicine tells us to do. Now, complementary and conventional is always going to, it's almost like politics, y'all. They're constantly going to be going at each other because what conventional doesn't want to acknowledge is that the man-made pills that we have today came exactly from herbal essences and remedies and plant matter. And they've extracted the most potent part of the plant and put it into chemical form so that your body can now have the chemical. It's not naturally producing it or underproducing or overproducing, whatever the case may be. Various tests for various people. But conventional is a lot of science and it's always looking to prove things. Great. I am not against conventional medicine and I am not against complementary medicine. I do believe that they should work together, but I also am frustrated at the the way that conventional has created propaganda against complementary. And it's almost like, everybody's, oh, you're not Republican, you're Democratic, you're not Democratic, you're Republican. And now we can't accept each other for who we are, not for what we believe, who we are. So The short answer to how we can heal trauma stored in the body is to like, follow, and subscribe to Holism Haus, purchase a membership, and receive your in-person sound bath weekly. No, just kidding. But really though, we can transmute the experience by shifting the energy and motion in our bodies, by understanding that fear, uncertainty, and doubt is what controls the narrative for millions of people. We can't continue to harbor disease and dysfunction through a lack of understanding and through a lack of connection. So, again, if you like, I can send you a workbook that goes along with this webinar today. But do your own research, right? Do your research and understand that vibration, that sound, that motion, all will help you recover from trauma. Recovering from trauma is rewiring your brain and understanding that you no longer have to stay in fight or flight because you've experienced toxic stress over and over again. You don't have to stay there. There is things that you can do to recover from your trauma. As your favorite life coach, you can always come and see me. We can do a healing consultation. And that healing consultation tells you, with our state-of-the-art software, what is in your subconscious thoughts? What is in your subconscious thoughts controls the narrative. It controls you, right? But again, do your research. Learn from industry leaders. Equip your mind first and then allow the actions to follow. Don't put yourself in strict rules and structures about your healing, because then you are limiting yourself. You have to have an open mind when it comes up to healing, because this happened over a course of time. Whether long term or short term, the effect that it has on you can be long term or even deadly. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Miranda Houston, also known as Coach Mandy. I'm the owner of Holism Haus, a holistic trauma recovery specialist and a certified life coach. And I want to thank everyone who joined in and engaged in this crucial conversation with Holism Haus today. So as always, our goal is to make holistic trauma recovery accessible. And by joining in on this webinar, you are now equipped with knowledge that can unlock new doors to healing for you. Of course, there's nothing new under the sun, and people will try to demonize and criticize natural healing because it doesn't make money for the healthcare, pharmaceutical, or religious communities. But God gave us everything we need, from the breath to the herbs to the vibrations and atoms. And fear is not of God, so if you find yourself in that mindset, rebuke those unhelpful thinking habits. I hope you all have a wonderful day. It's been a pleasure assisting you on this journey. You guys take care.